Uh, I think every time I turn this on, you crack me up, man. Your look is amazing. It's just pretty amazing. One
I,
of my
I
clients was talking about you this morning. It was hilarious.
really, wow. I
Yeah.
get around.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, I've been listening to your podcast with you and the guy with the blonde hair, it's long." I was like, "Oh, Simon."
Hey, somebody's listening. This is fantastic.
Yeah. She loved it, by the way. She loved it. She's like, "I love the stuff you guys talk about."
Oh, that's
It's like,
great.
"Oh,
I always wonder, because so certain yeah, a certain demographic definitely loves what we're talking about, but
yeah."
I don't know how universal it is. I don't know it like how many people were offending versus how many
Yeah.
people were inspiring. You know what I mean? And I'm not worried about that per se, but I'm always curious about it.
So the line between being offensive and inspiring. So
Yeah, I mean,
it's a thin line. Yeah.
I was told recently by somebody that their spouse didn't like them talking to me because get this, because I'm well spoken.
Yeah. It's weird.
And it's because they would consider themselves, the spouse I'm talking about, of the
Hmm.
person I was talking to, they would consider themselves, I'm sure, very orthodox.
Okay.
And I think they envision me as like almost being kind of like the devil,
Simon.
very sly, very well spoken,
Okay.
able to manipulate and influence,
Okay.
That's what I took from it anyway, because I don't understand why you would not want to hang around people who are well spoken
Yeah,
unless
that's
you
weird.
think that they are going to manipulate you in some way that you don't want to
Okay.
be manipulated in,
And they think you'll slither your way into their life.
which is really insulting to the person I was talking to, because it's an insult to their intelligence that they can't speak to another person who is a good communicator, or just who is expressing ideas, and that person doesn't have the intelligence to be able to sift through those ideas and decide which ones are good and which ones are bad. I'm not going to sit here and say that all my ideas are good. I know I have lots of bad ideas. And normally I try to filter those before they come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But and I try to make it a very conscious exercise to never speak in strong terms about something that I'm not sure about, something
Mm.
that I have not something that I have not delved into and researched, um and have been able to come to a conclusion that I think is extremely valid. So I'm not I don't shoot from the hip, and then I'm like that's my truth, deal with it. No, like, no, that's not me.
I feel like though that's pretty common for a lot of people is to shoot from the hip and not have a lot of knowledge. Like but believe they have a lot of knowledge. But it's very
Mm-hmm.
surfacey, but have a lot of passion in explaining it to someone else.
We have a lot of feeling,
Yeah.
and as we have spoken about in the past, feeling, it we don't discount feelings, but we temper them
Yeah.
with rational thought. So, we don't, as a skeptic, I'm skeptical of my own feelings, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
even the positive ones. No, seriously, it's like if I like something, now I have to question, why do I like
This is totally you, man.
it?
I like something. I have to question, why do I like this? I'm like,
Well, because I might like something to the detriment of somebody else.
mm,
That makes sense.
okay.
I've been thinking about this. You remember, of course, the story of King Solomon and the two prostitutes who come to him, and one of their children has died, and they've
Yes.
they've done the baby switch.
Hmm.
This is read literally. This is a ridiculous story. I'm not even saying that it didn't happen. I'm saying it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
and King Solomon's reaction to these two women is ridiculous. And I'm not, once again, I'm not saying it didn't happen and it's not true. I'm saying that it's ridiculous. It's not an exercise in wisdom per se. However, read metaphorically, I think there's something to it. And the reason I bring it up, uh, this is where we get the idea of like kill your babies, kind
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
where you're just like, um, but in this sense, it's actually the opposite of that. So there's a lot to be learned from this story when it comes to being a critical and rational thinker, which and that hopefully leads us to wisdom, which Solomon's famous for being wise. So he prays to become wise. So okay, let me just, I think everybody knows the story, so I'm not going to do like a retelling of it,
Sure.
but what I just want to point out a few things within the story that are teachable moments for the rest of us. The first thing is that Solomon listens to both sides before responding. This is extremely important, especially if you're in like where what we are in, a democratic republic. Okay, now as a responsible citizen who's going to go and vote for the next president of the United States, have you listened to both sides carefully, judiciously, and without bias? And I think Solomon does this, at least by the account that we have in the scripture. He does this. And then his solution does not benefit either party.
Mm.
Now think about that for a moment. When you go to and I'm using the generic you, including all of us in that you, when we go to the ballot box, are we voting only for our own self-interest and the interest of our political party? Or are we voting in the interest, the altruistic interest of others? Now, in this case, in Solomon's case, he doesn't, it's not going to benefit anybody. Nobody's going to come out on top on this scenario. That made me actually think of Joe Biden. And I
Mm.
and I want to stay with me here. He decides to step down. He is not going to benefit. Of course, he wants to be president again. He wants to continue and have another 4 years in office. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been running. He decides to step down. He doesn't want to step down. That is how we know he's a person of good character, because he doesn't do the thing he wants to do for the good of others.
Yes.
How many of us do that when we go to the ballot box? That we vote against our own self-interests for the benefit of others.
That would be an
That's a huge
interesting
deal.
exit polling question, don't you think? Like
I think it would
when
be.
you think, I think like if you said, did you vote based off of party line, self-interest, or for the, basically altruistic benefit?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure those, I don't know. Listen, this is pure speculation. The percentage is probably low, if I had to guess, that
definitely.
people did it altruistically. The people are very self-centered, and also they're so party line driven or so team, like we talked about last time, this tribalism versus community,
Yeah.
which you so eloquently made the difference. It was actually a genius statement. I was talking about that this morning too.
All
I was like,
right.
oh yeah, like Simon said, tribalism versus community. You're invading my life, you know that. Come on, man. Enough of you. Now
I'm
you're
just
invading
trying
my
to
work life. I mean,
I'm just trying to disrupt everything.
but and maybe it's a delayed benefit for Biden that he'll actually never see potentially. Um, you know,
Yeah. And um I mean, he can't have that many years left,
no,
So I mean, he's going off into retirement now. And if he had his own self-interest at heart, then he would have fought tooth and nail to stay president, because, there's nothing that the other side would like more than to try and make him and his family out to be criminals.
right.
And I don't know if they are or they are not, but let's pretend for a moment that they are. Well, that's in Biden's self-interest now to stay president,
Correct.
as Donald Trump tried to do last
Right.
time in order
Right.
to evade. Um, so and in conclusion, very famously, King Solomon says, "Give me a sword. We're going to cut the baby in half." Of course, it's going to kill the baby, and nobody's going to get anything. And the mother, and he decides on the true mother because she says, "Please let the other person have it." Okay, how many times in our public life do we have that attitude? Such as, if I were a Republican right now, and I was trying to think of what's best for the nation, I would say let the Democrats have this one,
Mm,
because Trump is my guy right now.
right.
That would just be my attitude. Luckily, I'm an independent, but like we've talked about, I've mentioned in the past, I grew up Republican. I
Yeah.
grew up Republican. I grew up conservative Christian, and really saw, around the year 2000. It must have been Y2K. Y2K must have
Maybe it was.
scared the partisan politics out of me. But it was right around then where I really started seeing, I was like, no, this isn't working. Like, this system doesn't work because it doesn't benefit unless you are, and sometimes even if you are the party who wins, it doesn't benefit you, because in order to win your vote, everybody's over promising and under delivering.
Right. For sure.
Everybody across the board, doesn't matter,
Everyone. Yes.
you know over promise, under deliver. That's politics in a nutshell.
This is pretty good, man. Say a bunch of stuff you're never gonna do, but put
Yeah,
me in there. Put me in, coach.
yeah.
I'm gonna hit for
I'm
the
gonna win
cycle, but
this
not
game for
really.
you, coach. Yeah, yeah. but but actually, I'm just gonna go out there and do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, just to kind of put a bow on it, what we can learn from King Solomon is that unless you're ready to do the thing that actually doesn't let's just keep it within politics for now. But you can see, maybe you could make this comparison to like Christians and Muslims, or even Baptists and Mormons, or whatever you want. Are you willing to do the compromise that doesn't benefit anyone, because that's the right thing to do?
Right.
Or that would be the ultimate test of the character,
Yeah.
our character. um so anyway, yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. I'm not, as we've discussed many times, I'm not a Democrat. I am definitely voting for Harris and Walz. It's
For
not
sure.
because I think their policies are going to be a huge benefit to me personally. I actually don't think I personally am going to be very affected by
Yeah.
the policies that they're promoting and things like that. That's so it's I'm really not in it for me. Uh, but I do see people that I think have really good character and who I would trust to lead my nation way more than somebody who has 39 felony
Got
convictions.
indicted again
Yeah.
yesterday. I mean,
Yeah. And his running mate, his vice president, is somebody
oh
who
boy.
has completely done a 180, and
Yeah.
and has kissed the ring and vowed allegiance in order to grasp at power. That's the
Yes.
only reason to do it. That's the only reason, because that what JD Vance said about Donald Trump
Yeah.
previously,
Yeah.
that's what he meant.
That's what he meant.
That's
Well,
what he meant. First thing's true.
first thing is true. It's I don't understand the lack of like more outrage over the hypocrisy of this stuff, because it's not like it's like, well, that happened so long ago. We don't have any video evidence, any article, written evidence. We have all the evidence of the world. This He's a never Trumper. RFK, he's a miserable person. Trump is a horrible human being. All
Yep.
these people, and then they just become turncoats, literally. They just, all of a sudden it's okay. And what it highlights is our tremendous lack of integrity that we're seeing people. That word integrity used to be really important to people in past generations. Whatever, they may have had other things that weren't great about them, but there was an integrity factor. Like there was a line. There was a
Yeah.
line. Like, I don't like this person, they're still a massive douchebag. And even if it benefits me to be potentially, I don't get the benefit, by the way, to do this, I'm going to literally drop all of my integrity. And I don't know, maybe they think people are stupid and they just don't recognize that. I feel like they always talk about, well, the American people, we got to stand up for people and the American people are smart. I actually don't think they believe that when you do moves like that. I don't
Hmm.
think they believe it. I think they think people are stupid and that they won't care if I'd said that this guy's one of the, this is the, Trump is the Hitler of America, as was said by people
Yeah.
like JD Vance, and then turn around like I never have respect for anyone like that at all. None. I just don't know how you could be into someone like that, you know.
No. And I am somebody who allows for people to change and progress, of course, and
Sure.
change their minds. However, you always have to take in what's their motivation for
What's the
changing their
motivation?
minds.
Yep.
JD Vance's motivation for changing his mind about Donald Trump is not because Donald Trump suddenly changed and became a different person. That is not what's happening. Um, but what happened is that JD Vance saw that, oh, I could become vice president potentially. And if I become vice president, now I'm like a half step away from being able to be president someday.
Yeah.
That's what JD Vance is seeing. And let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he thinks that from the inside he can be a positive influence.
Right.
Maybe he thinks he can be a positive influence on Donald Trump. But how do you do that when you're kissing the ring?
Yeah. And flip-flopping at the same time, which as anybody listening, everyone knows if you pay some sort of attention that the abortion topic is actually very pro-based for the majority of Americans. It's like an insane number, like of majority. And these
Yep.
guys are very much against it. But then recently they just flip-flop. Oh no, we're not into a nationwide abortion ban. Like, and it just does, it's just constant hypocrisy
Yeah.
left and right. And I think if you have any scruples, any actual values, you would see that and go, that's ridiculous. Like, if you're going to be down for it, just be down for it. Don't change your
Yeah.
mind. Like, you can change your mind, but like you said, if the motivation is to actually, I've understood the topic better, I really know what's going on, or I've had a change of heart, we all know that's not it. It's polling, it's money, it's
Yeah.
everything that's saying they're losing. It has nothing to do with actual personal improvement. You know?
And we know it's not it because they're not trying to educate the American public about why, a national ban on abortion would be
Yeah.
better for the country. They're not trying to do, they're
No,
not trying to educate people
no.
on why they've had these changes of heart and things like that. So to me, that speaks volumes. So, if I have a big change of heart on a huge topic like that, then you better bet that I have bullet point evidence about why I changed and that I can educate others about why I changed my mind. But yeah, we don't see that
You
with
don't see
with
that.
politicians because they're not. Once again, I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. I really am.
Sure.
But politicians should be educators. Like at their
Agreed.
core, they should be educating the public about the issues, about why they're voting certain ways. And part of that, and that education should be two-way. It should be a two-way education. Of course, the public should be educating our politicians about what they want and why, and the politicians should be coming back and saying, okay, but here's the rest of the information that you haven't been privy to previously. And this is why I think for the benefit of everybody, we should be voting this way. But politicians aren't really doing that most of the time. Once in a while, you have a politician on a certain issue who might have that ability to actually educate people. I think that's why Pete Buttigieg is so popular
Yeah.
because he's an educator.
He's a big time His interview is actually great because he just fact checks the shit out of people, man.
Yeah,
And then he like explains it. Gavin Newsom does that a lot too. Regardless of what you think, he's an excellent educator when it comes to especially his state. He understands all the metrics, the reasons behind things, and he knows he's not perfect. He's discussed the things he hasn't done well. I just never hear that from other people. I'm like, what is this? You're just making up stuff, like literally it's just a lot of making
Yes.
stuff up.
That's what
Like,
they're doing. Because on the opposite side of like a Pete Buttigieg or
mm.
whoever is somebody like what's her name? Green.
Oh,
Um,
Marjorie Taylor.
Marjorie Taylor
Yeah.
Greene. Marjorie.
To just
I
make
mean,
up stuff. I mean,
yeah, they just whatever, and she is the perfect. I was surprised that Trump didn't pick her to be his. I mean, he was wise not to,
he was
honestly,
very
but
wise
but
not
but
to.
I
Yeah.
was honestly kind of surprised that he didn't pick
Yeah.
her as a running mate, just because she's as crazy as he is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. He actually does have people that I think try to influence him to do sane things, but he just mocks them. Like he literally is like, they say I should stop doing insults. He's like, should I or should I not? Like
yeah, right.
he's just like the ringleader, is the
Like,
showman. He can't help. He's so thirsty.
yeah.
It's just he's the ultimate thirst trap. You know,
And I have to blame the people who go to his rallies for his behavior. Honestly, I
yeah,
mean,
I agree.
he of
Yeah,
course has to take personal responsibility for
sure,
everything he says
for
and does.
sure.
However, he is doing what he sees that works. He throws stuff out there, and whatever sticks to the wall, he goes with. So you have to blame the people who are at these rallies and stuff for allowing these ideas to stick.
That's right.
They're not booing the bad
That's
ideas.
true. Although I don't know if you saw that, I guess at the last rally he had, that they interviewed a lady there, it was a hardcore Trump lady. And she said, honestly, I have to stop backing this guy. He sounds crazy. And I thought, what? I was like,
That's
someone
beautiful.
actually had a dissenting opinion who's like really
That's
hardcore.
beautiful.
She said is like, he's just rambling. He doesn't say anything. I'm like, okay, newsflash, he's never said anything. I'm glad you've come around
Exactly.
to it, but you're like 9 years too late. All
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like, I don't know what you thought he was saying before. It was
10
the
years
same.
into this
Yeah.
game, you're finally catching on.
You know what I mean? It's like if somebody was speaking a foreign language to you that you didn't understand,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, they're actually speaking something I don't know what they're talking about. 10 years later, like, no, it's been unintelligible and ridiculous since the moment you met this person. Like,
So I'm gonna have some empathy for this person actually, because you know I have been talking to others about this same experience when it comes to religion.
that's true. Yeah.
When you just grow up with something, whatever you've grown up with makes sense for at least a time until you start expanding your horizons and you start expanding your education beyond that thing. Now, the moment you do that, then you have at least the opportunity to recognize the wheat from the chaff,
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
say, oh, a lot of that stuff that I grew up learning and believing and things like that, it actually makes no sense.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think for most passive religious people, they just say, oh well, it'll work out,
Yeah.
God will work things out in the end. And that's a nice sentiment, but it doesn't help anybody out right now.
No.
And especially with these hot button issues. So okay, so my faith that I grew up in, the Mormon church, they just came out with a bunch of new policy and handbook changes. And whenever the Mormon church does anything like that, of course it's front page news. So I
Yeah.
don't know if
Yeah.
you've heard about
I
things
haven't
like that,
seen it.
but
No.
they have new policy. One of the big hot button ones was about transgender
Mm.
people, because the Mormon culture is a patriarchal culture. Men hold the priesthood, women don't. Well, what happens now when somebody's a woman who transitioned to a man? Do they get the priesthood now? you know? But this is the utter ridiculousness. And I think actually this is the perfect talking point about these things, because when you start um, uh, telling people what they can or cannot do based on what's between their legs,
Yeah.
then you quickly run out of you quickly find you're no longer on the high ground.
Yeah, of course.
You're like
Yeah.
in
You're not
the
holy. Come on, like
you are in the abyss,
you're
of
the dirt
moral and
dog.
ethical
There, yeah,
decision.
exactly.
you know so they're coming up with all these rules, and some of it reads very nice. They're trying to say, hey, we need to be respectful always, and loving and kind, no matter what people decide. But this is the official church standing, that if somebody is and this should come with the caveat that Mormons really do believe that your gender was predetermined, so that your spirit before you came down and inhabited a body had a gender, and so your spiritual gender correlates to your physical gender. None of it makes any sense.
No.
Once again, once you start thinking about it, this
Exactly.
is the whole problem, that people don't think, and
Yeah,
I'm not trying to,
exactly.
yeah, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but what happens, in a culture like Mormonism, is you get prophet worship. So whatever the prophet says, that's what you do. From a very tender age, you sing songs. Like one in particular is actually called "Follow the Prophet,"
Right.
and it's all about, no matter who the prophet is, what time, and the song sings about different prophets from the scriptures and things like
Yeah.
that, but it's always follow the prophet. He knows the way. It's very important that we say he,
Okay.
because there'll never be a female prophet.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is this is the games like Red Rover, let the
Yeah,
prophet come over? Is like it's
exactly.
like
Now, the problem with this mentality of prophet worship is that prophets have been objectively incorrect many times over.
no
Now,
doubt.
whether you're talking about a biblical prophet, or if you're talking about a Mormon, prophet living today, or from Joseph Smith until today, um, all of these prophets have been objectively wrong about certain things, and that there is just there's no way around it, that each of them have taught what Mormons would call false doctrine. And the apologists for Mormonism, though, they'll sit there and say, "Oh, well, they weren't speaking as a prophet then. They were just speaking at." No, they were. They
Yeah.
were.
Come on.
Okay. Like, they signed their, let me just use, we've talked about this recently, so let me just use this: black people and the priesthood. So
Yeah.
that from Brigham Young until 1978, so well over 120 or so years, Mormons didn't allow black people to have priesthood. Therefore, they could not officiate in any ecclesiastical duties. Um, and beyond that, they could not participate. Men and women could not participate in temple worship, which is the highest point. Like, the most important thing that you can do as a Mormon is participate in the temple and the ordinances that happen in the temple. Well, multiple prophets had said specifically, this is doctrine, and they'd sign their names to documents that says this is the doctrine. And because it's a doctrine, it requires a revelation from God in order to change it. If it's just a policy, you don't need a revelation. Such as, you can have a policy that every Mormon church works the same. So, and we used to have 3-hour church on Sundays. That was the policy, and each hour you're doing something different. Now it's 2 hours, but that wasn't a doctrinal change. So I'm just trying to help everybody understand the
Yeah.
difference in the Mormon church between a policy and a doctrine. There was no doctrine that said you had to go to church for 3 hours. you know so when they changed it to 2, no big deal. However, when you start talking about black people can't have the priesthood and why they can't have the priesthood, that's not policy anymore.
No.
That's doctrine. They really believe the things that they're saying. So I'm just using that as an example. and so I'm constantly having these conversations with people and just trying to encourage people to think, not just follow. We don't want to be the lemmings, right?
Yeah.
Just jumping off the cliff because that's where the prophet led us.
Yeah. Well, this leads me to, in addition, kind of my addendum to this is that I think obviously we have, in some ways, a prophet problem in religion, but you could say that for the entire United States and the globe and almost anything. We have a prophet guru problem in our society. We give away our agency to people who often do not have our best interests at heart. They have their interest at heart,
Yeah.
not yours. And it's incumbent upon us to actually think first about, is this actually benefiting me or benefiting this person or whatever? And I think that's what we're seeing in politics too, is like people line up for their profit. Their politician is their profit now. And it's like, I'm on
Yeah.
this team, on that team, this total tribalism, as was described last time, that great, delineation. And we have a real problem. We have a profit problem online too. Call it YouTube, TikTok, whatever. Everybody's lining up to line behind the profit, the fitness profit, the money
Yeah.
management profit, right? These, whoever it is, and people aren't thinking, is this person crazy? And I think that's kind of what we're starting to see a little bit, bringing it back to politics, is that like yourself, if you listen to this show, Simon and I are both independents. We have no skin in the game on either side here. We want sane people. We want sanity. And I think that this line of like, these people are weird, they're creepy. The reason why it's landing is because no one's actually been saying that. No one's been going like, whoa, step back. Don't you think this is crazy?
Yeah.
Like, I had never heard that attack till recently. And I'm thinking, it's working because it's actually bringing people to think like, actually, is a lot of this stuff this being said is really weird. Like, I used to always think, why doesn't anybody think, when Trump was on a show with Ivanka and they said, what's the word you would describe about, each other? And Trump said sex about his daughter. Like, that's what they had in common? Seriously? Or that he would date his daughter if he wasn't his daughter? Like, seriously, that's
Yeah.
strange and so disgusting. It's like, it was like no one said, is that weird? It's a profit problem, I think, for
I'm
people.
I'm I'm gonna applaud him for his honesty.
The filter is not there, man.
Yeah, but that is the problem. I mean, I think probably something that a lot of people that we would term as crazy might have in common is that a lack of filter.
Yeah.
Like whatever they think just comes out, and so they sound crazy, whether or
And
not they
children
are
have this too, by the way. You
clinically
teach them
crazy.
out of
Yeah.
it. You teach them
Yes.
out of it. You don't say everything that comes to mind.
You start helping them to organize their thoughts and to be able to communicate in a way that you know
Felt
that's
so bad,
helpful.
right?
That's
It's like,
helpful.
it's
Yeah.
helpful.
You
Unless you're
know?
Simon and you just, say just stuff to people right off the cuff, just right off the cuff, man.
I'm not going to say I don't have any regrets for the things that I've said in the past.
My favorite thing is, when's the last time you fell in love? Just meeting
Yeah.
somebody randomly. That's kind of hard. That's harmless, though. I get it's funny,
Yeah.
but like,
You know?
no, what you said was right. You teach them to organize their thought. This is appropriate. This is not appropriate to say these situations. And actually, I do have empathy for adults who just don't get that. Like, dude, you should have been socialized out of this or taught out of this mentality, like,
So as Christians, and Jewish people, and probably this pertains especially to Jewish people because they actually have done extensive writing and things on this topic of the word. And the word goes back to, of course, Genesis. By God's word, all things were created. And then we have an echo of this in John, the Gospel of John, where we have the word, and the word was, in the beginning, the word was with God, the word was God. And these are really mystical type teachings. They're difficult to take literally, and that's a real conundrum that we run into. However, the point that I'm driving at is that of all the religions out there, those who prescribe to Judaism and Christianity should be really concerned about the power of words. It's taught from the very beginning, from the very first chapter of the book of scripture that we use, that words have power, that words can create and they can destroy. And so the way we use those words, the way we communicate with each other, it matters. It matters. And when you have somebody like a Donald Trump, who is one of the worst communicators I've ever seen on the political stage, it matters.
It does.
Even if I agreed with all of his policies, which I don't, but even if I did, how he conducts himself when he speaks publicly, I could not vote for him.
Yes. And see, this is part of this thing too, is that I'm the same thing. Definitely voting Harris Walls, and similar. We're very similar, Simon. It's not the policies and stuff. Some of it is interesting. Some of it is not. Most of it makes no difference in my life, to be honest. For me, I mean, I really don't think it will. So hanging my hat on that really doesn't make sense to me for that. But I'm that word conduct, I think, is worth discussion, because I don't think we talk about conduct anymore. And if I'm not
Used to be a
basic,
big deal.
used to be a huge deal, right? How you conduct yourself, how you comport yourself in public, how you come across. And I just think I want to feel good about who's ever inhabiting a certain office, certainly one that is a figurehead or something that other people in the world see as an example, yada yada yada. I want good behavior. Even if it's not that great behind closed doors and I don't know you, at least project to me that it's going to be good. And I just think the lack of the projection, this abhorrent behavior, the name calling, ridiculous, insults all the time, that's just not how I conduct my life. Nor should it be how anyone conducts their life. I'm just going to say it. You should
Yeah.
not be conducting your life making up terrible names for people, talking poorly about people's weight, their ethnicity, all this stuff. That person should not be representing our country at all. So it
No.
comes down to character and conduct for me. And Harris Walls have much better character and conduct. And honestly, Tim Walls is hilarious, man. That dude is funny. I would have a beer with that guy.
Yeah.
He's just a regular dude, and I like that. I have nothing in common with Donald Trump. Literally nothing in common, like zero. And neither do the people that like him either. They also
Yeah.
have nothing in common. You gotta get out of this. You have nothing in common with him.
Yeah. Your interests don't align.
No,
No,
no.
not at all. Tim Walz, on the other hand, a wonderful family man, a
Yeah.
wonderful somebody who, whether you agree with his policies or not, he's making decisions based on integrity.
Yep.
Like, he honestly thinks this is the best thing for everybody. And feel free to disagree with that. No,
Right.
honestly, I mean, feel free to disagree with what he has decided is best for everybody. But the thing you just can't disagree about is that he's been doing all this with his own self-interest in mind.
Right.
Like, I know that, the nickname they like to go with right now is Tampon Tim.
Yeah. How disrespectful is
Okay, well, how did that legislation benefit him?
that?
You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Good point, Simon.
so
Great point.
so he signed that legislation believing that it would be good for other people. It had nothing to do with him. That's the kind of integrity I want to see.
That's exactly right. And that what a great point, by the way. That is totally what connecting what we were talking about earlier. And I just don't think there is just, if I look at it objectively, like you said, let's actually look at these things. If I hold these two things side to side, I don't see where it's anywhere close. That one side actually seems like a good person. I watched some of the DNC, like not live. A lot of it I watched on YouTube clips and stuff like that. I was working. I
Mhm.
was busy. I just didn't have
Yeah.
time for it. And this is just me. Again, these are my own thoughts, my own opinions, my disclaimer about it. But when I saw Michelle Obama and Barack embrace each other, and I think they were talking dirty to each other maybe a little bit on stage. I like that. I'm really into that.
Yeah.
And Tim Walz and his son's so passionate about his dad. The wife's like, all these people feel like they actually like each other and love each other.
Yeah.
Like that connects with me because there's a conduct, there's an integrity, there's a showing of like, hey, I actually am into these people that are around me. Contrast with, I don't see that anywhere else on the other side of that. Actually, it just feels cold to me. It feels, it just feels inauthentic. It's like when JD Vance went to that donut shop and he was like, I'm JD Vance, I'm running for vice president of the United States. And the girl was like, okay, you think that's going to sway me? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get through my shift here.
Yeah,
Like, why
exactly.
do I care about you? And I'm like, I'm like, and that to me was like, see, there's nothing in common. You guys, when are we going to get to this? Where's the vein of consistency of connection here? I just, it's
Because
not
what you're
there, man.
because what you're getting at, I think, is and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're asking these people to represent us. So if they have nothing, if we have nothing in common with them, how are they going to represent us?
Yes.
Like I have nothing that other than being a Homo sapien. I have nothing in common with the Trump family. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
You know, the way that we grew up, the values that we espouse, uh, what we consider to be integrity,
Yeah.
nothing to do with each other.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. So why would I want any of them representing me?
Right. And the biggest, this Trump pulled the biggest scam of all his scams that he's done, some that he's been convicted of, which is making middle to lower class socioeconomic people believe that he has their best interest in heart and that he's like them, holding his
Yeah.
Bible upside down. And like,
There's a reason that Trump University got shut down. You know,
exactly.
it's because it wasn't benefiting the people who it was
No,
supposed to benefit. You know, and
no,
so you know,
right?
it didn't benefit anybody. It's just another scam. You
It's a
know,
scam. Like,
yeah,
and like you said, I have sympathy, but it's also like if once you give your power away to something without questioning it critically, you have essentially given your life away completely. And I hate to say this, this is just my observation. That's when you start wearing the flag every day as a shirt
yeah,
and pants and hats, because you have literally lost your discernment of if that's actually weird or not. Like you wear it on 4th of July, okay. It's like here I see you.
yeah.
It can't be your everyday outfit, man. Like, come
I
on.
feel that the same way about a lot of religious stuff. You know,
Right.
even like wearing the cross and everything. It's
I'm
just
the
kind of
same way.
like,
Yeah.
that was a Roman invention to torture people, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yet every
it's
rapper's wearing a cross. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
it's
like,
not great.
okay, yeah,
It's
come
not
on
great,
now.
man. I
That's the same
mean,
reason I don't wear it. I like, no, I don't know. I get that you're trying to like morph it into this symbol of obviously the crucifixion and dying for people's sins. I was like, yeah, but I'm not wearing that on my neck, man. I'm like,
yeah.
like,
Do you think Jesus would find it weird? I
right?
think Jesus would find it
That's
really
what I'm
weird.
talking about. Wait a minute, you guys wearing this thing I had to carry?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
wait a minute.
I, they, they nailed me to that thing, and you're wearing it around like a symbol, like,
And
oh
some of
man,
them diamond encrusted, big
oh
gigantic
yeah,
crosses.
oh gosh, it's weird,
This is a good
man.
point, actually, man. Like, Jesus would think us wearing the cross would be really weird. Like, dude, this is pretty strange stuff.
Yeah. I mean, by all accounts, Jesus didn't wear any ornamentations.
No.
He's never described as like, and he's never described as using any kind of symbolism that he wanted to, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this, to like usurp uh okay, so the point I'm driving at is that the cross becomes an idol.
Yeah.
You start worshiping the cross, you start, looking to the cross. And that's why we have one picture of Jesus in our home, and it's because an artist friend of ours drew it with crayon, and it's beautiful. And they drew it with crayons that they picked up from just like like a secondhand stores or
Yeah.
whatever. So they're just like used children's crayons, and they drew this gorgeous depiction of Jesus praying in Gethsemane.
Oh, beautiful.
And so, yeah, so we have that hanging up in our home, but we don't have any other depictions of Jesus or any other kind of religious symbolism hanging up in our home. And it's not because we're not a religious family, it's because those things, they don't do anything for us. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it's like I don't look up at a picture of Jesus and think, oh no, what I think of when I look up and I see a picture of Jesus, I think, yeah, he didn't look anything like that.
I always think the same thing. I'm like, who is this Italian Jesus, man?
Yeah,
Like, it is this guy looks like Alabama in 1980s, going to the Grammys. Like, who is
exactly.
this guy?
Exactly. Who's this hip Jesus who looks
Yeah,
like
who
he's
is this
fronting
guy?
an alt rock band,
He plays a mean guitar.
Yeah.
He's so much angst.
Is that Jesus or Ziggy Stardust, man?
Right. It's like, who the hell is this guy? It's like it always I'm like, okay. I mean, it's like, and people like they just kind of like accept it. They're like, yeah, it's Jesus, man. I mean, you kind of look like Jesus today, It's like,
I'm the Aryan
you're the
Jesus.
area Jesus, like, like we could do a painting of you, like, wow, Simon Jesus today. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Simon J.
Like
Like,
I'm like the Russian Orthodox Jesus,
right.
you know.
I mean, you could be a painting of Jesus. There's so many different weird
So
ones. I
great.
mean,
Yeah. I appreciate some artists' interpretations of Jesus where they try to make Jesus kind of um universal.
yeah.
He definitely depict him as some kind of ethnicity,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's definitely not white, European.
A European Jesus.
But they try to make him more kind of universal, so
Yeah.
anybody, no matter what you're, and I appreciate that kind of effort or whatever, or that kind of thought that goes into it. But at the end of the day, you know, these artistic representations of Jesus are exactly my point when I say everything everybody thinks about Jesus is wrong.
Yeah.
And I include myself in that statement. However, you imagine Jesus, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Whatever you imagine he looks like, you're wrong. Whatever you imagine he sounds like, you're wrong. However, you imagine the way he delivered that line in your New Testament, you're wrong. You're wrong.
You drop bombs every episode. I swear, man. There's always like a point. I think it's always like midway where you really dive in. You look deeply into my eyes and you just drop a gem.
I get warmed up. It takes
Yeah,
me
it gets warm. You need about an hour,
I
like
need an
get
hour to
warm.
warm up. I can start dropping it.
Right. As we get older, a
Yeah.
little bit longer to get into
Yeah.
that. But it's like, so I mean, he's about a good hour, and then
Good.
that bomb
Start
drops. Man.
taking some intelligence enhancing drugs so I can drop that bomb earlier, keep dropping it
It's never
longer.
at the beginning, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, you didn't like my Solomon bit? You didn't like
It felt like a warm up. That's what it felt like.
That's
It felt like a
beautiful.
warm up. Yeah, this was like the crescendo. Right here, I was like, whatever you thought about Jesus, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually true. It's a good point.
I mean, that's why you shouldn't trust anybody who says they know what Jesus said or meant or anything. You know, I mean, we can argue about we can, and when I say argue, I just mean discuss. We can
Yeah.
discuss it. I think we can have very fruitful discussions that are enlightening, and we can have different interpretations that are equally valid, but they'll be equally wrong.
Yeah.
No matter what your interpretation is, no matter what my interpretation is, I'm equally as wrong as anybody else. Um, now the question is, who's wrong is better.
Mm, interesting.
That actually, I use this in the preface of that book. I'm just still working on it. You know, that
Yeah, it's
Jesus
all
book.
good,
I'm
man.
still working on. You know,
Bestsellers coming, man.
yeah. No sellers coming.
Can you put your picture on the back and be like
Yeah.
Jesus? like,
The real Jesus.
the real
Hashtag real
Jesus
Jesus. Yeah.
hashtag.
Yeah.
He hates all
Um,
his songs and he doesn't remember the lyrics.
but oh man, now I lost my train of
I just
thought.
blew your whole thought
You just
process,
did.
man.
You did.
Yeah,
You made
you're
me
not.
laugh. You can't think through I can't think through
I can't
laughter.
think of that either, man.
Laughter just derails all my thinking
Well,
processes.
who's wrong is more interesting. What was it? Something like that. You said.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I was saying, like, in the preface of my book, I talk about this. So I talk about how my training as an English major and as a literary through and learning literary criticism has taught me that a strong misinterpretation is the best interpretation, because it's all misinterpretation. We can say, oh, this is how I interpret it. It's like, actually, that's how you misinterpret it. That's how, whatever bias that you are going through right now, that's how your bias is interpreting it. And that's how we have to just kind of look at all these things. And so I embrace that. And I quote oh gosh, his name just flew right out of my head. From Measure for Measure, and Shakespeare's Measure for Measure, the villain. Anyway, he says, my oh, I might be getting it slightly wrong. My wrong, or powers, or whatever. You're right. Anyway, my wrong is better than your right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and so I'm just embracing that within this book, because I know that all of my interpretations of these different biblical stories that I'm talking about in this book, I know that they're wrong. They might be less wrong than somebody else's, or they might be more wrong than somebody else's, but they're wrong nonetheless. But I think they're valid misinterpretations, and I think I have very strong claims and evidence to back up why I am misinterpreting the scriptures the way I am.
Right. You know what? Might need to warm up just a little bit more, Simon. All right. That was a little rough, buddy.
Well, you know,
You hit the peak
I'm still
and then
blonde.
it
I'm
it's
still
still
blonde.
blonde.
You know, like, hey, it's really hard, difficult to overcome blondness. You know,
It's like, believe me, I know. Just two blonde guys here.
like my mic keeps sinking. Yeah,
No, I think that's an interesting thing. I haven't thought about it that way. That's actually an interesting, honestly, I literally never thought of that before, which is great. I'm being enlightened on something different there. You can also kind of, again, I kind of trying to look at universal themes, and I think you can kind of bring that to a lot of areas. And we've been talking about politics. It's kind of like that too, on some thing. Like people are over delivering over promising, under delivering, like you said. Okay, well, which version of that are we getting? And like
yeah,
sometimes you get more. Like I know people like rip Biden and stuff a lot, but actually a lot of things actually got delivered, like actual
yeah. I mean,
legislation. That's not an opinion. That's factual. It actually
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Um,
He followed through on a lot of his
right,
promises. Now, whether you think those things were good or bad,
right,
that's a matter of your opinion. But you can't deny that he delivered on a lot of stuff, really big stuff,
big stuff.
really big.
Like really big. Like you said, whether you like it or not, whether you how you feel about it, that's a different discussion. But then if But if you look at maybe a different candidate or someone comes in and they don't do anything, you're like, well, it was just a lot of bluster.
Yeah.
So what would I rather have? Someone just says a lot of stuff, really doesn't do anything, or someone who says a lot of stuff and actually gets things done? Okay. I probably want the person who gets things done, but I hope it's things that actually are meaningful for that. And this is my whole crux of things. Like, where's the stuff behind it? Like, it's just like the Wizard of Oz or something, basically, with a lot of
Yeah.
politicians, a lot of like bluster and I'm the big Oz, and you get the curtain back, you're like, there's nothing going on here. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just literally, and that's honestly a lot of religion too. The way it's presented is like a lot of big bluster and whole big thing, and curtain back. There's really not a lot going on here. It's a lot of control, patriarchal behavior, and I want to dominate you. I want you. I am your guru. And that's what it is. It's what a lot of it is.
You know, I honestly can't even fathom why Donald Trump ever wanted to be president.
That's crazy, right?
It's been and honestly, it's been so bad for him personally.
True.
And I don't think he had the foresight to see how bad it would be for him. I think he thought he was just going to keep skating along the way he always has. Because let's face it, when it comes to like getting away with shit,
Yeah.
it's hard to find somebody who's been luckier in that regard than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Why expose
the
yourself
dude
to all
gets
this?
away with shit, you know?
Yeah, he does. And if he wasn't president at one point and never gone through this, he probably would have got away with a lot more. And he's still getting away with stuff, but it would have been not a publicized thing, probably, because why would the DOJ be going after him if he was like being such an ass all the time?
Yeah.
Like and actually doing terrible. Like when you expose yourself, you have too much exposure of yourself and you act like an idiot all the time, it's pretty easy for people to want to go after you. I mean, if you're regularly stealing from a store over time, they're like, this is a bad guy, like
Yeah.
probably should do something about this. It's like,
You know, and it goes both ways. Like, would anybody care about Hunter Biden if Joe Biden hadn't
no,
become president?
they don't
No,
even know who he was.
exactly. Nobody would know who Hunter Biden was. Nobody would know what his business dealings are. Nobody would know anything about him if he would. So no matter who you are, uh, becoming president of the United States exposes you to all these kinds of things. If there's anything that you can say for somebody like a Barack Obama,
Yeah,
is that he was under that criticism for 8 years and people couldn't find anything.
no,
You can't find anything on Barack Obama
it's
and the
true.
Obama family, you know? So, I mean, it just says a lot about him. And once again, whether you agreed with his politics or not is beside the point that we're making, which is all about character. It's
Character.
all about personal integrity and character. And that's what somebody like a Barack Obama has in spades.
That's in huge spades. And you may have agreed or disagreed with the Affordable Care Act and some of maybe his foreign policy. Okay, that every president has different policies. Maybe you agree or disagree with both sides. But like, who are they as human beings? Like that's generally what I try to focus on in life and in these positions of authority. Who are these people? It's like you can see the pathetic nature of like they try to attack Tim Walz. It's like, oh, let's try to attack something. We got to find something on this guy. Let's
His
try to
son
do like
cried
this. Yeah, I mean, oh,
at the DNC.
look at
His
his
son
son.
cried.
He's so weak. He cried.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, how heartless of a person do you have to be? Like,
How desperate,
that's
how
desperate.
heartless and desperate, unintelligent. I mean, the lack of intelligence, the lack of both like social and emotional intelligence
Yeah.
to try and criticize somebody's child for feeling strong emotions because they're so proud of what their parent is doing. I mean, that is just the epitome of just gutter.
It's just right. It's just like,
I,
it's so
I lose words. I
the
have a laugh.
conduct and the character are exposed to that. It's
Yeah.
like And I know maybe people don't see, it's like Ann Coulter was very famous for saying, when you talk about weird, that's weird, that she said. And then she took it down because someone said, well, the son is autistic. She said, that's why I took it down. Why did you say it in the first place? Like,
Yeah.
where are your manners?
His
What is your
autism has nothing
etiquette?
to do with
That
it.
has nothing to do
Honestly,
with it.
has nothing to do
Nothing.
with it.
Yeah. Like,
You're talking about somebody's child who is
right.
proud of their parent and is crying. I mean, the yeah.
Where's your
I mean,
manners? Like, I know there's a lot of old sayings. If you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything. But that kind of is true. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, there's no reason to make that commentary. They're saying it because they don't know what to say. Like,
Because they've got
they
nothing.
got
You
nothing to
know?
talk about. Like,
And I mean, I know hardly anything about Ann Coulter's personal life,
right.
but uh, from the reactions that people had to her saying that, I, you know, learned that maybe she's not married, doesn't have children, or anything
Yeah.
like that. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, spoken as a real yuppie, a
Yeah.
single yuppie who hasn't had
Childless cat lady.
yeah, yeah, I mean that, yeah. So who's weird?
Yeah.
The kid who's crying because they were so proud of their parent, or the childless cat lady who doesn't understand human emotion. I
The
mean,
love of a child.
yeah,
I don't know,
something that
love of
she
a
apparently has
parent.
never
Know
experienced.
what this is. This is so weird. What is this thing that's happening? Emotion.
It's like Spock trying to learn emotions,
Yeah, it's like,
on Star
right. How
Trek.
that's a great example, right? And we've talked about this way back in the day about how, like, when Spock evolved and eventually he got it,
Yeah,
he was, oh, like this isn't, because, everybody knows Spock is all about logic.
yeah.
It's like, what's the logic of emotion to Spock, but he learned over time what it meant,
I think if Ann Coulter had been a witty, funny, you know, self-aware person, she would have followed up all of this stuff with her as the Terminator being lowered into the
Yeah.
molten metal and saying, I know now why humans cry, but it's something I can never do.
That was genius. You cracked yourself up on that.
I
That's
did.
funny. It's totally perfect. I now know why humans cry, but this is something I could never do. Like, so this is where we're at, is where normal, wonderful, beautiful. I saw that and I thought, man, this is great. I'd be that if my dad was up. I'd be so pumped up, man. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
they would say some terrible stuff about me. I'll be jump kicking in the air,
Yeah.
crying, chest bumping people.
You'd be Tom Cruise on Oprah's
Oh my
couch,
God, I'll
right?
be
You'd be
jumping on
jumping
that
up and
couch.
down.
That's my
Yeah.
dad. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. Let's go. Let's go. It's like, oh, I've never seen this emotion of support. Like,
Well, you just contrast that with, Trump's kids.
oh boy.
And- which, by the way, in this campaign, I don't think I've seen Ivanka.
No, I don't think so.
I have seen a real lack of his kids on this campaign
Yeah.
trail, especially as
Um,
of late.
yeah.
There seems to be, and I could be misreading the whole situation, but there seems to be a distancing going on.
You think,
Oh,
you
there
think?
seems to be, maybe Ivanka isn't really interested in being first lady again. Maybe she really doesn't want anything to do with this guy
Oh,
other than his
Melania.
money.
Yeah,
Oh
Melania.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I
right.
mean.
Yeah.
Melania. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
She's MIA. They have her face on a milk carton, man, back there. It's like,
Yeah. But
yeah.
Ivanka too. I mean,
Ivanka
Ivanka and
left
her
too. Yeah.
husband, they of course, were part of his uh
Yeah.
uh uh, cabinet, I mean,
Yeah. A
part of his,
terrible cabinet. Honestly, objectively, you don't just make
oh
your
yeah.
kids part of you just
No, I
incredible.
mean, how
Come on, man.
stupid, and
That's
he tried
terrible.
to run the White House the way he runs, his businesses, and yeah, I mean, it worked out about as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just it's like, I don't know, it's just weird. It's like, if you just compare and contrast, like, again, I think we're coming back to this, like, slow down, think. Thinking is really important, people, in life. Think
Yeah.
about this, what's happening in the next couple months. Think about what you've seen. And if you think about what you've seen and you go, that Trump, that's my guy, I'd be like, okay, at least you thought about it, at least for a while. I'm going to disagree with you, but at least I respect that you went through some sort of thought experiment
Yep.
about it. Just the lack of thinking is just the worst part of it to me.
It is. And, when I talk to people on either side, honestly, who
Yeah.
are like overly excited about their candidates, it has nothing to do with policy. Because then you
No.
start talking to them about policy and they don't know what the hell's going
No.
on.
It
And
sounds
that
like
that
religion.
yeah, isn't that normally the case? The
Yeah, it's
more
normally the case.
excited you are about something, the less you know about it.
Yeah. And it
And I
seems like
think,
that shouldn't be the case. It seems like it shouldn't be.
well, I think that is one of the measures of wisdom is is the ability to be skeptical. And once you have a skeptical mind, you kind of, I don't want to say you lose your excitement or passion
Mm.
for these things, but but what you do is you gain the ability to see what is worth that kind of excitement and passion and what
Mm.
isn't.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
does that make
Yeah, no,
sense at
you know
all?
what? I never thought about it that way, but I started selfishly, guys, I started thinking about myself.
There you go.
And I started things I'm really passionate about. I actually don't really talk about that much.
Hmm.
Like because I feel like I know a lot about it, but I don't feel like I need to project it all the time.
Hmm.
I don't know what it like there's a lot of things I'm excited about, but I don't like I was like I love gardening. I'm a huge gardener. I've talked about it a few times, but I'm like not like banging people over the head about it,
Mm-mm.
and like being plant-based. I'm not banging people over the head about it.
Yeah.
But then you see people who are and you're like they don't really know that much about it. Like why are they talking about it so much? It's like why are we talking about this? If somebody's
Yeah.
like we talk about, you can look at like politics, like foreign policy, domestic policy. Whether you talk about the border is the worst because people know nothing about the border. I'm so sick
Mhm.
of people talking about the border and having zero idea about the border or the police force and misdemeanor crimes versus felony crimes. Like Gavin Newsom, again, I have no skin in the game with Gavin Newsom. I just think he's good. He's good at talking. He explains things. But he was on
Mhm.
a show and he said, they're pumping about how in California you can steal $950 worth of stuff from a store before you get like a misdemeanor or felony, whatever the two. And he goes, yeah, that's true. But did you know in Texas you can steal up to $2,500 before that happens? He was like, don't come at me like that. And you don't even know about
Yeah.
these other states. Why aren't you talking about Texas doing that? But you're always banging on California. I was like, damn, this guy knows what he's talking about. It's like that never gets brought up though. Right.
Nope.
And that stuff frustrates me is to this talking point, this overzealous talking point about stuff you don't know is so ridiculous to me. And if anybody actually tests you on it, it's the same thing with religion. Well, I don't know. It's a mystery. It's just God's a mystery.
Yep.
It's like that's bullshit, man. Like,
So to that point, the when the Mormon Church came out with this latest policy about transgender, they were very open about how they don't know why people have or gender dysphoria
hmm,
or any other kind of um just wanting to be a different gender than what they were
yeah,
born as, what they are
right,
biologically born as. So at least they admit that they don't have the answer to that.
yeah,
But at the same time, they think they have the answer to that they shouldn't feel that way. It's like, well, if you don't have the answer to why they feel that way, then why do you think they shouldn't feel that way?
yeah,
You don't seem to have any of the answers, but you seem to have the response to the questions that you don't have the answers to.
yeah.
So
Strange.
why are you responding to things that you don't have the answer to?
Right,
you know?
right. Very eloquently said. Like, one thing equals this. Why does it equal this other thing?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me, actually.
No, so to say that you know, um, so all right, so one of the biggest problems, and I'm trying not to get worked up about this. I'm trying to keep my calm.
Oh,
I'm trying
we
to
don't.
enhance my calm.
Okay, we don't need
All
Star
right.
Wars situation here.
Yeah.
We don't need.
Because the way that they've worded some of these things is to imply that if you are transgender, then you are um what's the word I'm looking for? Predatory.
Oh, okay.
So now if you're a transgender individual and let's say you're a man who transitioned to a woman and you want to use the women's bathroom, according to the church policy, you have to have somebody in there with you to make sure that there's nobody else in the bathroom. I don't even know how this would play out, so that you can use the bathroom by yourself. So basically, they have to quarantine the bathroom for somebody who feels like they are a woman, who have gone through a physical surgical transformation and to become who they think they are,
Yeah.
and now you're worried that they are predatory towards other women. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
No. Have they ever been in a bathroom? Public bathroom? Like,
The last place I want to like go after somebody sexually is in the bath. Oh, are you taking a dump?
hello,
Ooh.
you. Sexy in the bathroom, the public bathroom at the
Mm.
airport. Wow. Mm.
I mean, it's just crazy. So the way that they do these things, it's just the implication. It's the thing that they're not saying,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that they're implying that just blows me through the roof.
Yeah.
And I just keep talking about it over and over because it just feels like it keeps coming up. The Olympics, now this with
Yeah.
the church policy stuff. It's like everybody is so, I mean, in a such a perverse way, so worried about what's between the other person's legs.
Literally. Yeah.
I mean, okay, and this is how I said it to somebody recently. I said, unless I'm trying to have sex with you, I don't care what's between your legs.
Right.
I don't. It has nothing to do with am I going to be your friend, how I'm going to treat you, how I'm going to interact with you. It, what's between your legs has nothing to do with any of that unless I am actively trying to have sex with you.
Yeah.
Now, after 24 years of marriage, I'm pretty positive of what's between my wife's legs. So I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry. So for everybody
Uh,
else, it's a non issue.
yeah.
And I just don't understand why it is such an issue for so many people.
There's something else going on there. I just really is. It's hidden behind some other doctrine, almost often religious doctrine, but I don't believe that's it. I think the root of the problem is something much darker that they, or not even dark, just maybe just something about themselves that they just haven't come to terms with for that.
And they're trying to legislate other people's lives.
Yeah, come on. I mean, that like I have the same thing with like the drag queen stuff. I don't understand that. What does it matter? Honestly, it's extremely entertaining. I mean, it's
Yeah.
very entertaining, very talented people. And newsflash, your kid's not going to be a drag queen just because they saw somebody read to them. Like they're going to be a drag queen because they hella want to be a drag queen. All right,
Yeah.
down the line.
Yeah.
Like,
You know,
and I'm gonna be at that show, pumped up. I'll be the guy. Oh yeah, baby, let's get it going. Like,
I would wager, and this is just my intuition. It has nothing to do with any kind of facts or anything. But I would wager that most drag queens became drag queens because they saw Dolly Parton, not because they saw another drag queen. You know what I'm saying? They
yeah,
saw Lady Gaga, and the dude said, "I want to look like Lady Gaga."
yeah.
They didn't look at another drag queen and say, "I want to look like that."
No,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Drag queens don't model themselves after other drag queens.
no,
To my
no. They'd
interpretation
like
of
to
it,
be individual, have their own
yeah.
unique style and flair. Like
So and they're embodying their heroes that are normally real women.
yeah,
Dolly Parton, Cher, Lady Gaga,
Yeah.
you know, Madonna, et cetera, et cetera. This is the inspiration. These people. So you're gonna have to outlaw pop queens
Yeah, exactly.
if you want to
Seriously.
stop guys from wanting to dress in drag.
How many women became material girls because of Madonna? I don't know. I mean, it's like, who cares, by the way?
Yeah, I mean but you know, I'm making it silly because it is. You know,
it is silly.
it's so silly to care if an individual has a dick and they wear a dress.
It doesn't matter.
That's a problem for you. That's that's like a real big issue for you.
Think about how stupid this sounds.
Yeah.
That's the part I was thinking about. Think about how stupid this affects nothing about your life.
An
Nothing.
individual has XY chromosomes and they wear eyeliner, and that's a problem for you. I mean,
Exactly.
that is like something you're like really hyper concerned about.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so stupid.
I told my wife, I said, meanwhile, people are going bankrupt all the time from hospital bills. Like bankruptcy from medical bills is one of the greatest reasons people have bankruptcy and end up homeless. Like, where's that pumped up for that? That actually
Yeah.
matters a lot to people's everyday lives, our healthcare system. What's going on here? But if somebody comes and reads your kid a book and they, dress like Mrs. Doubtfire, I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's a problem. Come
Which
on.
when Robin Williams does it, it's fine.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
it's fine.
fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No big deal. Tu Wong Fu, that was okay.
No, well, I mean, it was Patrick Swayze
Yeah,
and
it was
Wesley
Patrick
Snipes.
Wesley
Nobody's
Snipes.
messing with them.
Yeah, they're too
You
tough.
know?
They're tough
Oh, you got to
guys.
talk shit to Wesley Snipes? I
Yeah,
don't think so.
that guy
I
was
don't think
Blade.
so. Yeah. Which
You know,
it was fun. I will say that was fun to see him in this new Deadpool movie.
I still got to see it, man. I haven't seen
Oh,
it.
okay. Maybe I shouldn't
No, it's
spoil
okay.
it.
I've seen clips.
You
I saw
probably, yeah.
Wesley in there, and what did you? I didn't see it, but what did you think of Channing Tatum playing Gambit? Was it good?
I mean, he was funny. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I had no emotional stakes in that game. I know a lot of people were excited because
yeah,
apparently he was up for having his own solo movie as
yeah.
Gambit that never came to fruition. I give no shits about that. No, I just don't. I mean, I'm
I
you
don't
know,
care either.
yeah, I don't care about the character. I don't care about the movie, and I I know next to nothing about Channing Tatum. So
Magic
um
Mike, you don't know about Magic
I've
Mike?
never seen Magic
I
Mike, so
haven't
I
either. I
don't,
just know the
yeah.
name.
Oh yeah. So
Uh,
so I had no emotional stakes in the game, but he was funny. He was
okay,
funny. Yeah.
that's good. I mean, this movie's made a lot of money. I didn't know it was like this huge of a movie to a lot of people.
You know, it's been interesting. I think we've had such a lull of actually good tentpole movies that this one, don't get me wrong, it's fine. I'm just saying it's
Yeah.
not some like amazing masterpiece. That's all I'm trying to say, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
the excitement about it
Right.
for me is like way over the
It's
top.
way over the top, right? It's
Yeah.
everywhere. And I go on YouTube
Yeah.
and stuff. I'm like, what is going on here with this? Like the clips, the stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
wow. I
It's
mean,
fun and it's just like over 2 hours of fan service, basically,
yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so it's fun, and I'm all for just a dumb popcorn movie that
Yeah.
just entertains. But yeah, people have been, and I think I haven't seen Romulus yet, the Alien
My
movie.
brother saw it. He said it was good. I don't know. He's pretty
Yeah,
strict on movies. So I was like, oh, okay.
I heard it falls apart in the third act,
Yeah.
but that the first that it starts really strong.
Okay.
Um, so that's what I've heard from movie critics that I normally agree with.
Okay.
Normally, you know.
Normally. Yeah.
But people have been so excited about it. And I
Yeah.
think that was actually one of the things that one of these critics that I normally, like I say, I normally agree with, not always, but normally agree with, that they were saying that they were just like, they weren't sure why people were this excited about this movie because it's mostly just a rehash
Yeah.
of alien movies. There's not
Yeah.
much original going on, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it is done well at a lower at a modest budget. I think the
Okay.
budget for this was only like 80 million,
Oh, okay.
which for a big summer blockbuster is pennies, you
Right.
know.
All right.
So so impressive in a lot of ways, and then, but not like it doesn't do anything to like reinvent the franchise or,
Yeah.
correct the course or anything like that. And I was just pondering that about these movies that people have been kind of overly excited about, it feels. And I think it's like, wow, I think Hollywood has just been pumping out so much
Yeah.
low tier crap that once something mediocre comes along, everybody's really excited about it.
Honestly, a lot of parallels in life, man. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if you've just been used to really low level, like terrible stuff, something that's just
Yeah.
okay is like, wow, that's amazing. But you
Like you've
can't
been eating,
distinguish though.
yeah, you've been eating Palmer's chocolate. So Hershey's suddenly tastes amazing, but you have no idea what good chocolate tastes like anymore.
Right,
But
right.
it's no clue.
It's a sad commentary, Simon.
Yeah.
It's like it's just weird. Like I leveled up to something amazing. No, 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 we're not saying amazing. It's just okay. That's what we're
Yeah.
saying.
And I don't want to sit and compare because they're not the same or anything like that. But Deadpool is a multiverse movie.
Sure.
So I'm gonna think about other multiverse movies,
Yeah.
and everything everywhere all at once is actually a
It's
masterpiece.
actually really amazing. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
It's up
And
there, man.
I mean, what they did in that movie with so much insanity, like
Yeah.
literal insanity, but keeping it grounded in an emotional level. I mean, having weird stuff
Yeah. A
like
lot of weird stuff. Yeah.
the bagel bit,
Yeah.
everything like that. All of a sudden, they're like rocks at the edge of a canyon and they're
Yeah.
talking to each other. I mean, it's like weird,
It's very weird.
weird
Yeah.
stuff. And it shouldn't work. It should not work. And it wouldn't work if Disney were making it.
Let's just keep that real. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I'm comparing Deadpool, which is a multiverse movie, and I'm thinking of it in the same kind of multiverse way that I am with, I mean, in that comparison, the new Deadpool movie sucks.
Yeah. Of course.
It's
Yeah.
it's lame. It's so devoid of any kind of emotional
Yeah.
impact
Yeah.
and anything like that. I mean,
It's
it's
fan
just
service, like you said. Let's see your favorite like characters in their actual original outfits and stuff like
yeah,
that, and comic outfits. It's fan porn, you know. It's like,
yeah, but it has nothing to say.
yeah,
It will have, other than, like you say, fan service, it'll have no cultural impact
yeah, yeah,
whatsoever. But man, that everything everywhere all at once.
yeah.
Holy cow.
It's deep. It's deeply in there, man. It's deeply in there.
Anybody who hasn't seen that, if you're listening right now and you haven't watched everything
Watch
everywhere
it.
all at once, I mean, watch it, and then if you watch it and you don't get it, watch it again.
Yes, most definitely. It's
I've only
beautiful.
watched that movie once,
Yeah,
and I ponder it almost daily.
it's great. I like Jamie Lee Curtis in it too. I thought that was a funny turn
So
for her. She
good.
was great in that, man.
She's
Like,
so good. A movie like that allows actors to be actors.
yes, yes.
Michelle Yeoh is amazing. I mean,
Hmm.
Michelle Yeoh and Kai, oh gosh, Kwan, her husband in the movie.
Yeah, and the guy who was Data and Goonies back in the day,
Yeah,
man. It's so awesome.
I mean, there's a reason they both won Oscars,
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
because a
yeah,
movie like this, and Jamie Lee Curtis won
yeah.
supporting.
Just so good.
Uh, a movie like this allows actors to be actors. They get to embrace characters. They get to change. They get to evolve.
Right.
I mean, they just get to do so much,
Yes.
and you get to see how incredible these actors are
Right.
in a way that other movies just don't allow.
Agreed. They box them in
Mm-hmm.
and they can't be themselves. And you know, we never do that on this podcast ever. You can be yourself. Simon can be blonde Jesus. Like,
You can be black blonde
I
Jesus.
could be black blonde Jesus, Leroy Simmons, whoever you think I could be. I don't need a guy. And you know what? People are listening to us now. Damn it.
Yeah.
They're actually even telling us.
I mean, I get feedback all the time from people who are listening
Uh,
to this podcast.
you know
Like,
what's funny? And I think, what did I say? I don't even know what I said.
oh,
Like,
honestly, yeah. Somebody will
what did
come up
I
to me and be
say?
like, "Oh, I loved what you said on that episode." I'll be like, "You're gonna have to remind me."
Yeah, what did I say? Please tell
Yeah,
me.
because I'm just having a great conversation with Darian, and
That's right.
you know,
We're just flying through stuff, just
yeah.
flying, just going, and just saying stuff. Sometimes profound, sometimes just silly. You know. Well, we're at our end again, my friend. What an awesome time. I needed this, as I always do. I've been working like crazy. I feel like I'm so busy. And I needed a substantial conversation like this. You always give me that. Thank you, man.
Thank you as well. I as well. I'm always, man, I always look forward to somebody who will, as we described earlier, will listen to both sides and actually
Yeah.
think about it instead of already having your mind made up
Yeah.
and saying, no, this is how it is.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
so this is my favorite kind of conversation.
That's right. All right, man. Thank you so much. And until the next time.
Uh,